was going on around Yesler Terrace. Jason Wade, the lone reporter working the night cop desk at the Seattle Mirror, concentrated on the bank of radios scanning the major emergency frequencies for the city. Amid the traffic of nonstop chatter, he caught a telltale hint of emotion in a dispatcher's voice. But the call was drowned out by police-coded crosstalk from unrelated transmissions. Jason cursed under his breath and locked onto the channel. Maybe he could pick it up again. He tried, but it was futile. Sounded like some sort of activity in the Central District, East Precinct. But what? 1 minute passed, then another. He heard nothing more. His call to the duty desk at the precinct went to voicemail. Instinct told him to keep the channel locked, because he couldn't risk missing a single story these days. Not on this shift. On this shift, getting beat on a story would get him fired. He wrapped up a 75-word Metro brief on a stabbing near the university, a petty drug deal gone bad. The victim would live. He finished his cold clubhouse sandwich from the cafeteria and surveyed the deserted newsroom. Most of the night copy crew had left after putting the first edition to bed. The editorial assistant was upstairs delivering papers to the executive offices. The last deskers, on duty to handle any more late-edition replates, were in a far corner marking time, discussing sports scores and a crossword puzzle. Several floors below, the Mirror's German-made presses were rolling off tomorrow's first edition, making the building hum. Sitting there, alone with the police radios, Jason took stock of his desk and his life. Here it was, amid the empty takeout containers, the stale junk food, the old news releases, old story files, used-up notebooks, and the front-page exclusives he'd broken for the Mirror. He was a crime reporter at a major metropolitan daily. It was all he'd ever wanted to be. And now, it was all hanging by a thread. In the 2 years since he'd won his staff job through the Mirror's internship competition, he'd led the paper's coverage on many of its biggest crime stories, with Pulitzer-caliber reporting his former editors had written in his file. Sure, his way of nailing a story wasn't always smooth, because he took things to the edge, and he faced some difficult personal circumstances, but his passion eclipsed that of most staff veterans. And while he was still considered a rookie, there was talk of accelerating his junior reporter status to intermediate. So how did it come to this? How did he come to be an outcast on the most hated shift at the paper, the overnight cop beat? The answer was buried in the crap on his desk, in the letters from the lawyers with words that still burned him. Possible proof of malice, erroneous reports implying guilt, statements were untrue, defamatory action. Anguish and anger twisted in his gut. Stop this and forget about it. It's over, man. Just leave it alone. He cranked up the scanners and left his desk, thinking about other things. The Mirror was a few blocks north of downtown, at Harrison and 4th. The newsroom was on the 7th floor. Its far wall was made of floor-to-ceiling glass that looked to the west. Watching the running lights of the boats cutting across Elliott Bay, he told himself for the millionth time that the thing with Brian Pillar never should have happened. It was 2 months ago. Pillar had been lost and had stopped his van to ask for directions from the 2 women standing on a corner. At that time, the Seattle police were conducting an undercover prostitution sting. Jason had helped arrange ride-along access for Cassie Appleton, a new general assignment reporter, and Joe Friel, a photographer for the Mirror. Cassie was doing a profile of the neighborhood's outrage over a chronic hooker problem and increased crime. It was Cassie's story, Eldon Reap, the Metro editor, told Jason. Other than getting her a ride-along, Cassie did not need Jason's help. Fine. But things took a twist when Brian Pillar was arrested for solicitation, along with 10 other Johns in the sweep.